request, it's going to find the last dot then and return this value. Right? So now inside of my index, I can import my get random recipe from utils. And I can do set data, get random recipe, and invoke get random recipe. You see how much cleaner that is now for our component. So I'm going to refresh the page, find recipe. Okay, why is it? Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me make this a sync. No. I need to get random recipe dot then. Result. Now I need to set the data with the result here. So I still have to, it's a promise, so I still have to wait the promise. Find recipe and I click it and there we go. So it's a bit cleaner this way. I forgot how I typically format the dot ends. I put them, yeah, I tap them. Anyway, that's that. I'm just abstracting it out. Just another like little refactor to clean it up because my code's working right now. So anyway, let's go back to our actual GitHub issue tickets. What was our issue ticket? What do we actually need to do? Okay. A user that does not know what to cook for dinner. I want a button that randomly generates so I don't start. Awesome. So I check that off, and I'm going to commit this code. I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to just add my git ignore. I'm going to say change added .env to ignore. I'll commit that separately. And I'm going to commit all of this as feature added get random recipe button. Right, I completed that acceptance criteria. So it's like, that's good to go. Now I want to implement the next thing. As a user that does not like the recipe, I want to click a button that will generate a new recipe so that I can keep looking, right? So this one would feel pretty good. We have a button here. We have our burn cook. So we want to create a button. If they don't like the recipe, it generates a new recipe. So this button that says burn, we need to give it some kind of function, right? So I'm going to create an onClick. We say onClick, we want to get new recipe, right? And then where's our actual fetch request? It's not inside the card, but it's inside our home page here. So I'm going to pass that in as a prop. And that's what we're doing, right? All we're doing. So as of right now, we go to the page, find recipe, we click the burn button, it does absolutely nothing. But inside our index.js, we can say get new recipe, and we can make that equal to a function. And how do we get a recipe?
Fetch.
Right? Yeah, we fetch it. And how do we fetch it? We change is fetching to true. You know what we need to do after this? If it's fetching, and then we need to set is fetching. We need to set to false. I forgot to do that cleanup. Set is fetching to false, right?
What does that do?
So what it's going to do is, because we're checking if is fetching, basically we're saying, like, if this is true, get a random recipe, and then set is fetching the false.
So it stops?
It doesn't stop, it just resets it. That way now we can go here and we can say, like, get new recipe, we can set is false, we can say, we can call get recipe. right? So what will happen is it does a fetch request each time. However, our fetch request isn't random. It's like a real one, right? We can create a mock. We can make our mock API give us a random one each time. Do you all want to see that? Like how that would work?
I thought we did.
No, we had to give us this one. The mock API just gives us one, right?
Oh, got it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I can make it so that it gives us a random one. You want to see that, how I would do that?
Sure.
Just for like mock functionality. It's more of like an aside, it's not really just kind of like a neat thing. So I would run this fetch request. Let's click on this. And then we need to question mark equals, and I have my key, right? So we get a random one. So we get a new one, right? A raw one. So I'm gonna have random one. I'm gonna create a new one. I'm gonna say random2.json. And I'm gonna paste this in. Save. Let's do a new one. And I'm gonna do random3. How many sounds good? 4?
3's good.
3's good? Okay. Yeah. So we have 3 random ones, and then inside our handler, what I'm gonna do is inside here it has like return rest ctx.json. I need to have a way of it getting a random one each time. So I'm gonna have import get random recipe 1, 2, and 3, right? So I have 3 variables each time. And then I can have JS random number between, and then, so we have math.random, and then I can set an interval, input 0, 1, or 2, so we have 3, right? I can get random int, that's a, what am I doing? Oh, getting a random number integer between 2 values, okay, so we can get random int, and this is a function. And right, this looks like a general purpose function, so we can now export this from our utilities function, and I'm going to provide my documentation where I found it. And you can see here it has getRandomInt gives a minimum and a maximum, and it does some math functions, but it will get us a value between these 2 values, right? So I can import into my mock handler. I can say, okay, import getRandomInt from slash utility slash util, right? And we can provide a switch statement. Oh man, this is confusing. I want to do it this way. I don't know if I want to do that way. That's a weird way to do it. Actually.
Why don't you, like, just loop it through?
Have it loop through each time?
Yeah.
You really can't do that.
You can't?
I mean, you could. I just don't know how I would do that exactly. What I want to do is create a random recipe array, and I'm going to make that equal to each of our recipes, right? Random recipe 1, random recipe 2, random recipe 3. Because now I can use a get random int, and I can say const random index. I can make that equal to get random int, and I can say I want a number between 0 and 2. Right? And then inside this return, I can say random recipe array, and then I can provide it my random index.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So just to like recap, it's like I'm creating an array, and instead of, because you can't really like use a variable, you can't like dynamically make a variable.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I do it? And I was thinking, oh yeah, well I could make an array, and then I could just put the number inside the array. So let's hit save on that. So now I have this like, we haven't really gone over it, but inside these mock handlers, you can provide some logic to give you some random stuff. So let's go test it out in our app. So now when I click it, I get this crunchy Brussels sprout. Oh, it looks good. Crunchy Brussels sprouts look good. And then I could burn it, and it should give me a random one. Was that a fluke? Yeah. Because there's only 3, it's kind of hard to find a random one. I also think I copied the same one twice. What's the name of this one? Wrong. It's like my onion rings aren't showing up. I'm gonna onion rings not have them. 0 and 2. Maybe I need to do between 0 and 3. Oh, no. There you go. I'm importing from the wrong file. Okay. Now I click the button. Burn. Wait. How's it doing this? That's not how random chance works. So there you go, 0 to 3. There we go. Anyway, whole ordeal is like, we can get random ones each time. Okay, so our button works. However, as you notice, like my find recipe button is now staying at the top. So it's like, okay, what's wrong with that now? Oh, it's because when our is fetching is true. So maybe I did want that show card. Maybe we want to have data. There we go, okay. So I'm now making it hide when it has data. Burn. Cool. Anyway, we have our functionality. That's all fine and dandy. And I want to give my utils a different commit message. I'm going to say add feature, add random number generator. Utility function, and then.
So let's say that you had to, when you button on clicked, and you had to send some parameters back with get recipe.
Okay. What's so if I needed to set information back with get recipe?
Yeah,
Like here,
like there, so,
here?
no, that's not what I'm thinking.
You mean in my fetch request?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would pass a property in here, and I would say, you know, whatever my parameter is, so like param1, right? Not param1, I'd give actual data,
Like, I guess I'm having trouble, like, still with the whole bubble up thought.
this isn't a bubble up, this is a fetch request. This is my API.
Okay.
So here's well, what I was saying is like you have param1.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah. So maybe like you have a query in here, and then inside of your template literal you would have like, you know, it's the right question mark. So I have like an ampersand, $, query, or whatever.
Right.
So you can pass properties in. I mean, it's just a JavaScript function, right? So
Yeah, I just.
You're talking about bowling up and down, right?
Yeah, that, I'm talking about, I have no problem going down, it's.
You're
going
saying with
up.
this one, right?
Yeah.
If I wanted to pass,
Something back up.
back
to that,
up.
yes.
So you have to use an anonymous arrow function, and in your onClick, you would pass like some kind of, you know, argument. It can be an object, it could be an array, it could be whatever.
Right.
Right? But if we do it like this, what happens without that anonymous arrow function, it's because onClick expects a function. What it does is it invokes this function
Right.
immediately. So we have to do the anonymous arrow function to delay it. The reason why we can get away with not doing it here is because it's just a variable right now. It's not actually being invoked. So this delays it from being invoked if you do that. But all you need to do is pass up blah, 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 like that. That's why, you know, for the most part, I used to write every single time I did this, I used to write an anonymous arrow function every single time. Because it was simpler in my mind to do this, even though I'm passing nothing, there's no params, there's nothing there. It's simpler than thinking about like, okay, what is it really doing in this situation? Why does it look different than the other times I've done it? All of that. That's how you bubble it up, and then inside of you know, get new recipe, we have get recipe. You'd have some kind of param here, and then send it there. But,
Got it, okay, all
yeah,
right.
so now we have that button. And I can burn it. I can burn everything. I can burn that milkshake. I don't want to burn those buttermilk onion rings. I want to cook them, but I can't because I haven't done that feature yet. So if I do not like it, I want to generate a new one. So I got that working. As the user likes the provided recipe, I want to click a button that'll take me to a detail page about the recipe so that I can learn more. So now I'm going to implement that feature. So my cook button, I need to send it to a page, a details page. You know, do I have a details page yet? No. But I can at least change the URL, right? So I can at least change it so it's up there. So I'm gonna have to think about like my React router, like there's some other considerations that I have to have, but so I'm gonna have to like create a page here. I'm probably gonna have to create a route. But I'm not creating the page itself. But let's just say I did create the route, right? And I did create the page. So I write route, and I'd have a path, and what would the path be? It would be like slash, maybe the path is slash recipe slash colon ID. Like what could I put in there, right? And then I have to look in this data. It's like, is there something unique about this recipe? And could I get this recipe by an ID? Like typically that's how APIs work, right? So let's go look at my, my recipe. It's like, okay, you can find, what is it, taste by ID, price by ID. Can I get a recipe by ID? Can I just get a recipe? Is there an ID? Let's see what taste by ID is. Get a recipe's taste. Taste is support. No, I don't want to get this taste. Can I not get the recipe by ID? Oh, okay. Get recipe information right here. So it's an ID. So it looks like I can use ID. Now what's the ID? The ID of the recipe. Inside of my data, I have an ID right there. Right? So cool. So I'd create this route in the future. Not doing it right now because that's not what this task order says to do. But I'm going to keep that in mind, and I'm going to implement it into the card. So how do I, route things? I use links. So let me look up, my Material UI. Material UI button. Can I create a link inside the button? Yeah, right here. Buttons can have hrefs, which is kind of cool. So let's do that. Give my button href, and what does my href want to do? I want to send it to slash recipe slash, and then I need it to be dynamic. Right, so slash backticks, temple literal, and I need an ID. So this ID is red underlined, so I pass it in as a prop. And I'm going to pass it in here, so I'm going to need to do, ID equals data.id. Okay, just to make sure everything's good, let's give it a function test. manual test. And I can refresh this page, find recipe, click cook, and it sends me to /recipe with the ID. It's set, now, right now it's saying not found, right? Let's go on implementing the actual page. So, last thing I do, I say feature implemented cook button. Commit, yes, and then I can sync 5 changes. I've had 5 different commits. And I can go to my GitHub page, go to this issue ticket, I can say I've checked off the last thing, let's go to this branch. Is this branch, we create a pull request, is this branch ready for it to be merged? Yep, because no one else has written any code, so I'm not going to have any errors. I can see everything I've changed. Awesome. The code review of myself confirms this merge. Because I wrote the code, I know I'm good. So there's a branch. So now, I have 3 other issue tickets left, and I have like the recipe details page, right? And in this recipes details page, maybe I say, I create checkboxes, and I have hashtag, where is it?